All right. We can go ahead and start the recording now. All right, we're going to call to order the City of Sherwood Planning Commission meeting for June 8th, 2021. Call to order, roll call. Chair Simpson here, Vice Chair Kai.
Here.
Commissioner Widola.
Present.
Commissioner Bance.
Here.
Commissioner Giles.
Here.
Commissioner Harsh.
Here.
And Commissioner Brown has not logged in yet. All right, we have this evening on our consent agenda, the Planning Commission work session and regular meeting minutes from May 22nd and the May 25th work session minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion before I roll call vote? All right, Chair Simpson, aye. Vice Chair Kai?
Aye.
Commissioner Widola?
Aye.
Commissioner Bance?
Aye.
Commissioner Giles?
Yes.
Commissioner Harsh?
Yes.
All right.
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Consent agenda is approved. Council liaison announcements. Councilor Scott, are you with us this evening? And
I am. Good evening to you all.
Greetings.
Our next city council meeting is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Same location, both virtual and in person as Planning Commission. So right here on this YouTube channel. We actually have 5 public hearings scheduled for next week. So it should be quite a full agenda. Supplemental budget adoption, updated schedule of fees, which is kind of an annual thing. Whether we change fees or not, we have to update the fee schedule for city services. Declaring all of this is budget related, right? Declaring our election to receive state shared revenues, which of course we want our share of. Adopting the budget, which I believe is the first hearing. Is that that may or may not be a 2-hearing process. And then finally, we are adopting some standards for hiring of our next city manager. So those will be the 5 things on the agenda. There's also an Urban Renewal Board meeting next week as well. That will either be right before or right after city council meeting. Check the agenda online to be sure. We'll have a work session with some property updates, and then we have a resolution to adopt our budget there as well. So check that out.
All right, very busy. All right, staff announcements.
Just some quick announcements here. Our next Sherwood West Relook meeting is going to be held on June 23rd. So the agenda and packets will be going out next Wednesday for that meeting. So our technical advisory committee will be meeting at 2 o'clock from 2 to 4 that day on the 23rd. And then our community advisory committee meeting that will be held from 5:30 to 7:30 that evening. And when the agenda comes out, folks will be able to watch the meetings online on the city's YouTube channel. And just like Planning Commission, if any community members have any comments, we're welcoming those comments 24 hours prior to that meeting. That is it.
I'm hastily putting that on my calendar because I would like to attend the meeting that I'm supposed to be at. Okay, staff announcements. Okay, community comments. Community comments are limited to those items not already on the agenda. I did not receive any notification of community comments. All right, so we'll move on to, all right, excellent. Public hearings. All right, we are on to public hearings. All right, the public hearing on LU 2020-05 SPLA Pine Street Live Work is now called to order. To maintain compliance with public meeting laws and pursuant to House Bill 4212, this meeting is being conducted electronically. The public notices for this meeting stated that citizen comments and testimony for this public hearing item had to be submitted in writing at least 24 hours in advance in order to be included in the record. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present the staff report, 15 minutes. Questions, if any, by the hearing body for staff. We will then open the public hearing for testimony, and time will be limited as follows. The applicant will have 30 minutes split between presentation and rebuttal. As previously noted, public testimony for this hearing was required to be submitted in advance in writing. Staff will read the first 4 minutes of any comments received. The full text of the comments have been provided to the hearings body and the applicant in advance of this hearing and will be included in the record. There'll be rebuttal from the applicant, which is the remainder of their 30 minutes. There'll be final comments by staff, questions of staff, if any, by the commission. We will then close the public hearing and no other comments will be heard from the public or the applicant. Then will follow by discussion by the commission. The Planning Commission is the hearing authority and any appeal to our decision will be to the City Council. A decision may be made by the Planning Commission at the close of this hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this will be the only notice of that date you receive. In reaching a decision on the application, the commission must consider whether the application meets the relevant approval criteria in the city's land use regulations. These criteria are identified in the staff report, which was included in the materials for this meeting posted on the website. Please note, failure to raise an issue with enough detail to enable the commission, the applicant, and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues precludes an appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Also, failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval, again with enough detail to allow the commission to respond to the issue, precludes an action for damages in circuit court. At this time, I will take a roll call to ask members of the commission to disclose any ex parte contacts, bias, or conflicts of interest. Please state none or indicate the nature and extent of the ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest, and indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. Vice Chair Kai?
None.
Commissioner Widola?
None.
Commissioner Bantz?
None.
Commissioner Giles?
None.
Commissioner Harsh?
None.
I have none. And I just want to double check. Commissioner Brown has not joined us yet. Okay. Whoops. We'll now ask the applicant if the applicant wishes to challenge any Planning Commission members' ability to participate this evening. And I don't know who the applicant representative. There you are.
Hello, my name is Wayne Hayson from Pioneer Design Group, representing the applicant, and we don't have any challenges to any commission members. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we will now hear the staff report. I believe that's...
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, Chair Simpson and Planning Commissioners. I really appreciate the mic check there by the cat. Mine will probably be doing the same shortly. No, points in my book. So, yeah, happy Eric Rutledge, Associate Planner with the City of Sherwood. Happy to be giving the presentation on LU 2021-005 Pine Street Live Work. This is for a site plan and landmark alteration. Application summary, the applicant is proposing a new 3-story mixed-use building with 5 vertical live-work units. The site is zoned retail commercial and is in Sherwood's Old Town Overlay District. Site plan applications in the Old Town Overlay are processed as a Type 4 land use action pursuant to the Sherwood Development Code. The Type 4 hearing authority is the Planning Commission, and the appeal authority is City Council. Notice of the application was routed to affected agencies on May 6, 2021, and agency comments have been incorporated into the findings and exhibits of the staff report. Public notice of the application was provided in accordance with Section 16.72 of the Development Code, including mailed notice to property owners within 1,000 feet of the site. We did receive one public comment that came in via email. I forwarded that on to all the commissioners, but I'll summarize that here in the presentation. And here's the applicable.
Before you move on, can we, any commissioner that did not receive that, can you raise your hand and see if we can have Erica send it out while you're doing your staff presentation? So I don't see any hands being raised. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yep. Here's the applicable chapters of the Development Code for reference. Getting into the site details, development site is located at 22415 Southwest Pine Street at the southern corner of Southwest Pine Street and Southwest 2nd. So here is 2nd Street. Get my laser pointer here. Here's Southwest 2nd, Southwest Pine, and then there is a public alley that abuts the southern property line here. Here's just another aerial view of the site location. Just wanted to highlight that it's kind of here in the center of Old Town. It's right here on Pine Street, which is a main north-south commercial mixed-use street as you come in to Old Town from Highway 99 on Sherwood Boulevard. There's City Hall and the library there. Just a little bit more background. The Old Town district is divided into two distinct areas. The Smockville area that's shown here in blue, that's where the development site is located, that red dot there. And then also the Old Cannery area on the southern side of the railroads. Each sub area is treated a little bit differently in terms of the design standards for any new development that's coming in. So this application is subject to the old Smockville standards, which I'll go over in just a sec. The existing conditions, the subject lot was created as part of the Smock Edition plat in 1911 and is approximately 5,000 square feet. Satellite photos indicate the site has been vacant since approximately 2007. It does have sidewalks on each side. They're hidden there, but it does have sidewalks on each side and street trees along Pine Street. In terms of the zoning and surrounding land uses, again, the site is zoned retail commercial. You can kind of see how the zoning, is intended to implement sort of this commercial corridor along Pine Street with retail commercial on both sides, and then medium density residential low as you get further away from Pine Street. In all of the immediate directions around the site, the zoning is retail commercial. And here's the use tables that are permitted in the retail commercial zone. Multifamily housing is permitted subject to the dimensional requirements of the HDR zone. And then on top of that, the Old Town overlay permits residential apartments when located on the upper or basement floors to the rear of or otherwise clearly secondary to commercial buildings. I did want to highlight the or here. So the proposal was for vertical live work units with housing above. And so it's meeting the standard by being on the upper floors. And this one is an or. If it wasn't on the upper, on the basement, or in the rear of, then it could comply with this or otherwise clearly secondary. But because it is on the upper floors, it's meeting that standard for the mixed use. So the proposal is for vertical live work units, including ground floor office commercial and 2 floors of residential space above. Common ground floor uses for live work units include at-home and professional offices, personal services such as hair salon, nail salon, etc., and small retail stores. Here's the development standards for the underlying retail commercial zone, and then the Old Town Smockville overlay. I'll just point out the height here. So in the underlying RC zone, the maximum height is 50 feet. That drops down to 40 feet or 3 stories in Old Smockville, just to have a scale that's a little more compatible with some of the residential uses around. What's being proposed is 40 feet or 3 stories. All of the setbacks are pretty consistent at 0 feet, which is somewhat standard for commercial zoning districts. The proposed setbacks are 0 along the front and sides, and then 10 and 15 for the rear. I'll go over the site plan in just a sec. In terms of the community design standards, within the Old Town overlay, the underlying community design standards related to parking, loading, landscaping are modified in order to provide flexibility in site uses and design. The standards are intended to promote a walkable mixed-use downtown that encourages commercial viability while protecting the historic character of the area. And so just wanted to highlight a few of these that I think have the most impact on site design. Probably the biggest one is that off-street parking is not required for all property and uses within the Smockville area of Old Town. Off-street loading is not required for all property and uses within the area, and then also no visual corridor or minimum tree canopy requirements are required in Old Town. And that's really to get to this sort of, urban type of development that maximizes the site. So here's the site plan. The site's outlined in red. The applicant's proposing a one-way drive aisle. So this would be a private drive aisle or driveway, one way. So vehicles would enter in both directions from Pine Street, come down the public alley, one way. There's rear loaded garages here, one for each unit, and then would egress onto Southwest 2nd Street. What else to point out? The blue here is the recessed porches, and I'll go over the floor plans in a little bit more detail in just a sec. Although no parking is required, the applicant is proposing parking 5 off-street parking stalls, 1 for each unit on the ground level, covered in a garage. And then based off of the street design, there would be 3 on-street parking stalls. These would be publicly available parking stalls. So in the immediate area, about 8 on and off-street parking stalls. And then getting into the detailed design standards for the Smockville area, this is mainly related to the building. So it's going to cover all sorts of different building design, everything from the roof form to the building orientation. There are different standards for commercial buildings and mixed-use buildings versus residential buildings. So if it's a purely residential building, it complies with one standard. That's typically your one-story home on a single-family lot. Any commercial or mixed use, if there's any type of commercial associated with it, generally it's going to comply with the commercial design standard. And so this proposal is subject to those commercial design standards, which I'll go over now. So I'm not going to go over all of them in detail, just to highlight a few. The first one, commercial standard 1, related to volume and mass. This standard requires buildings to be sited with the primary facade facing the street and to be located on the property line with a 0-foot setback. And the applicant is proposing that the building has been situated with the primary facade facing Southwest Pine Street. So this is the front of the building facing Pine Street, with each of the 5 units containing a separate pedestrian entrance with a recessed porch. So these would be the commercial ground floor windows and 2 stories of residential above. The building also extends from side lot line to side lot line to provide a solid streetscape along the property